was a strong beat, and had a strange reaction. Dollar coming off a little bit and yields coming off a bit, even on a strong number. But let's talk about what saved the day in the market. You guys know where my head's at on semiconductors. Took half of them off yesterday in case this happened. In prior streams, I talked about there is a possibility that we could have some type of C wave, ABC in NVDA up towards 200. And let me give you a pearl that, I learned from market veterans a long time ago, that when something cannot be better, then it usually doesn't get better. And the fact that NVIDIA is sold out of one of its chips, I mean, sold out, how much better can that get as far as demand for your product? So I'm really not that impressed with this rally. We're already giving up some of yesterday's gains. In fact, this is about exactly 61.8 back from the highs at 210 to 180. So, say about 61%, 18 bucks. Here we are, and selling off already. I don't know if it's going to give it up all today, but I do believe that we've had three instances now where the market has had a sigh of relief. We had the two Fridays where we had reversals in the S&Ps. Um, 2 weeks ago, right here. So we had this save here, which generated a pretty good rally, but a failing rally. Then we had this reversal last Friday. And remember, I talked about that people were getting long Fridays because Mondays were generally up, like it worked here. It didn't work the second time. If you bought Friday's close, you didn't make any money unless you got out in Asia. And then we made new lows for the move. So even though we're back above this breakdown, I'm still viewing this as a failing rally. It may have some legs left, but this is a third sigh of relief. So if NVIDIA does fail from here and takes out the 180 level eventually in the next couple of weeks, which I think is very possible. In fact, look how it's given it up now. But there might be enough momentum to keep it going maybe into early next week. I held half of my semi-short position into this. I didn't add on the opening because I'm doing this and thought there might be some follow through going into next week. If I miss getting the other half off, I'm still there. But if I have opportunities to do so, say Monday, Tuesday, I'm going to put those sales back out in the SOX bearish ETF. So I wanted to cover that because it's really a key. And then if you measure this move, okay, let's just say this was 30, and this is a 61.8% retracement. Let's just say 98, which is 61.8, is the end of this rally. And then I take a 1.618 of this from wherever we peak in here, either today or the next few days. That's going to give me 150 or 154, which happens to be a prior high. Let me go, where's that 54 level? Here you go. So this was the high before the April smash, analogous to like 61.40 in the S&Ps. All right. So that's my view on the market, and we are having an up week in NVIDIA, kind of an inside week. So, uh, I'm going to wait for some of the mo to begin to dry up, which it's already doing here. But it's my view that the S&Ps and the semis, the market is this is going to be a 2, 3 day bounce, and that we're going to resume the downtrend. And I'm looking for shorting opportunities there. Let's get to Bitcoin because there's an awful lot of bearishness here, and I would be careful now. I wouldn't be pressing the short side. We do have some divergence here at this last low from yesterday, and we could get, even though this may not be the bottom, and even if we broke one more time, we'd have a three drive. Don't be short, and we could have a pretty good short covering rally here. Why can't we rally back to 100 and still be in a downtrend? So that's a possibility. Have divergence in Ethereum, even though it got hit harder yesterday, but look how the RSI held above 30. Okay, so don't press the short side of cryptos here. I think that they could come in and generate some type of bear market rally at least at the minimum. So let's get to the dollar now. And the dollar actually, I know we're down a little bit. It's a pretty ugly candle. Um, this does not get me like, I was looking for 98. Obviously, I was wrong. I was selling rallies in this stuff here. And then we had the Fed minutes about there's less and less possibility of a December easing by the Fed because they don't have a lot of data. They're not going to have the NFP. And I'll tell you what, this NFP was one of the strangest ones I ever saw because the markets waited for, normally you get the instantaneous reaction. There was at least 3 minutes before people started thinking about what it meant, and it took yields back down. So I'm starting to think that 102 to 103 is back on the table. Are we going to pull back to 98? I don't know. I have no positions in currencies right now, but my bias now is to look to sell a rally in euro. We're having a decent day here, maybe back at 116 or so. Or you can make the case that, we're putting in a higher low, we're going to still rally to 117. So I just don't have a lot of conviction in this today. I mean, the euro pound is under pressure because cable is outperforming. And say cable, we get a decent rally back to 32.50, that would be a sale for me. But I don't know if we're going to get that high. And the yen, I definitely underestimated. Definitely uh, wish that I had a better perspective on this. I didn't expect this type of strength. So, I made an attempt or two to top pick yen. That didn't work either. So for now, I'm not doing anything in the currencies except, maintaining short Aussie positions. I still think Aussie's going to 62. I'd say this is the one I have the most conviction on, and we've had lots of sells that have worked. The 64 and a half is a big area, 64 even bigger. And I do think in the weeks ahead, and I would sell strength in Aussie if it rallied again, if this rally follows through. I'm expecting a breakdown and expecting a 62-cent Aussie. So the commodity currencies I feel a little better about. Canada had a decent day yesterday. It's kind of fading a little bit here, but I could make the case if the dollar's going to 103, Canada's going to make a new high and at least head up to 42 or 43 for a third drive. We could address gold. So gold had a failing rally last week, and then we had a bit of a failing rally yesterday. And the key part of this is yesterday when silver was sharply higher, and it's getting hit pretty hard today. The gold silver ratio put in a higher low, which I had an interview yesterday. But if you caught my stuff on uh, Twitter, on X, I talked about a higher low in the gold silver ratio, which also kind of correlates with a stronger dollar. So we could have another move in the gold silver ratio that could take us back above, 82. And when you look at it on a daily basis, perhaps we're going to attack um, even higher levels. But 82 at least, which says, just like today, gold flat, silver down 35 cents. I still believe there's lower levels coming, and that this double top just had a failing rally. Maybe it tries these highs again, but I still am looking for 42 down the road in the next several weeks or months ahead. And gold, I still think looks heavy. I don't think that we're going to penetrate the high that we had here last week for a failing rally. Could it give another shot up towards 41 and a half? Yes, that's very possible. And then I also want to advise people that have been riding this natural gas trade for quite a while, that I think it's vulnerable here for a correction. You may want to take some off and look to buy a pretty good pullback in that as well. Um, just take a look around at what's happening here with some of the gold stocks. This looks like the failing rally. The gold stocks really didn't get much of a lift yesterday, and I still think you have an A, B, C, and the miners will be under pressure, especially if gold is going down with when risk off can begins up, starts again next week after this rally in the S&Ps, and gold prices are under pressure. So gold shares still look under pressure, especially some of the smaller ones. Look, didn't even rally with the gold. Here's SILJ, kind of looks like it's flagging. Yeah, I could try 24, but I think that we could still maybe even work back down towards a 16 level, which would still be a higher low from where we started at 10. So for it to pull back towards these levels, boy, that would be a great buying opportunity. So I think I've covered most of everything. I'm also bearish the banks. So I just want to show you they're rallying, and I think that's going to be a rally to sell in the XLF. Um, we're getting a decent rally, but you know, I don't think we're going to take out the high here. Bank of America, I don't think we're going to take out the high here. I think there are still lower numbers and some credit issues that are still out there that may come back to haunt the market. Let's take a quick look at VIX, which is sharply lower today, but still, I think it's going to have an upward bias for a while. So here we are at 19. All right. So are we going to 16? No, I think, this big gap, I think that we're going to find a place to base and then head back up again. So those are my thoughts. Thinking that the dollar is doing something important and that this rally, um, that we're probably going to need to fade it. It's what is it going to be, a failing rally, or are we still going to go to 98? Um, I see that as everything possible in these market conditions, but I'm not short the dollar right now. I'm only really short Aussie. So we'll see what happens. I think it's important to stay on top and not be completely sanguine about the bounces that we're getting in S&P today. You can see we're up around some important resistance. Do your fibs, and I think there's going to be a good short. And I don't think NVDA is going to make new all-time highs, and think that it's setting up a pretty nice short here. So that I'll attack sometime next week, and hope that you guys are getting something out of this and are able to learn from not only what I do right, but when I'm wrong, that you own it. Analyze what you didn't see. You ask yourself, well, what has changed on the view, and then just wait for the next setup. So I believe the next setup is going to be um, a dollar buy, but I'm not going to buy it here. I'm going to wait for some type of pullback, and I think that we're going to have a pretty good move up back up to 102. Some of the measured moves are even higher, like 104, 105. So back to what my original idea was in the dollar uh, from the lows, which is something, I nailed from the beginning of this move in the Dixie down at 96. So this is really it's doomsday for the dollar if we break down and take out this 96 level. So this is the reason we're above the 200. I think that we're going to push now up towards 103. And I just need to know whether or not this is like an ABC and we still are going to pull back under these lows, or we're just going to correct this recent bounce we've had and then continue back up to the upside. So that's a wrap for me today. We'll do a look ahead tomorrow, see how things finish on the week, and come up with a plan for next week. Remember, don't